Okay, awesome. I have to do a quick introduction. I have a little script here that I have to read. So we'll go ahead and start. My name is Megan McCarthy, and I am interviewing Phillip Woods on 11/26. Today's 26, right? 16. Could you spell your full name for me, please?
PhillipWoods.
Thank you very much. Do you consent to having this interview recorded and made available publicly?
Yes, I do.
Fabulous. So would you mind sharing where and when you were born?
I was born in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, in 1976.
Okay. So you grew up in Aliquippa. Did you have any siblings?
Yes, I had an older brother and an older sister.
What were your parents' names and occupations?
I grew up in a single-parent home. My mother's name was Phillip Woods, and she was a hairdresser.
Could you spell her first name for me, please?
Capital J-O, capital Larrraine.
Thank you very much. What was... Woods. Thank you. Tell me about your education as a child and as a young person. What was a typical day at school like for you in elementary, middle, and high school?
Typical day at school, elementary school, we was a small town. I want to say my graduating class was probably in the 90s, the mid-90s. Typical day, you go to school, you have lunch, have breakfast, go to class, have lunch, have a little bit of recess, come home, spend a few hours on homework, and then after school, taking part in extracurricular sports like football, basketball, baseball, things like that.
Awesome. What were your teachers like? Did any of them stand out to you? Is there anyone that you remember?
I would say I have very supportive teachers throughout my educational career from elementary to high school, and I do recall the teachers having taking an interest in me as a student, but also in other students in regards to being caring, nurturing, and understanding of different things going on in our lives.
Awesome. So you said that you participated in football, baseball, and what else did you say? Basketball. What age did you start playing or participating in formal sports?
I first started playing football at the age of 7 years old for, at the time it was Pop Warner Little League football for Aliquippa.
Okay. Which did you have one that was your favorite that you played more than others?
Definitely football was what I ended up playing. As I got older, I stopped playing the other sports and I just concentrated on football. So football was the one that I ultimately won over me, my interest.
Okay. Did anyone or anything influence you to start playing sports?
I would actually say my sister was a cheerleader. And my sister is probably about 7 years older than me. And I used to have to go to practice with her because my sister was a cheerleader and my mother was a cheerleading sponsor. So I had to go to practice. They wouldn't leave me at home by myself. So while I was at cheerleading practice, I would notice the football players playing. So it was more interesting watching football than watching cheering. And I think that's how I got involved in football.
Understandable. What was your involvement like throughout childhood? How often did you play? And did you play with your friends or?
Well, I played organized through the football team, but it wasn't uncommon for a bunch of kids to get a pickup game and play in the yards or a football field, and we would play in our little neighborhood, and then sometimes we would have our neighborhood versus other neighborhoods in the community. So it was definitely an ongoing thing year round.
All the time. Okay. How about your coaches? Are there any, is there any one coach you had throughout the years that stuck out to you?
Coach, I've had influential coaches throughout my career. My first one, I would say, was Mr. Dave Gist. It's David Gist, David, capital Gist. David Gist was the most influential because he ran the Pop Warner League, and he used to pick us up in his car and drive us around, and he was definitely influential. At the high school level, it was Coach Frank Morocco and Coach Short. And then at college, I played for Jim Tressel. And then I transferred eventually to IUP, and I played for Frank Sinetti Sr.
Okay. What kind of support did your mom provide to you?
My mom provided support from all the way to Little League, all the way to college, and then even when I played semi-professional football and arena football, she was always there to support and encourage, and she would help supply the, different equipment or different things that I wanted that the teams didn't supply. But I think most importantly, she was just there as an inspirational, motivational influence.
That's awesome. Can you describe for me the significance that sports played in the community you grew up in?
Aliquippa is a very small town. There's not a lot going on since, the steel mills closed and everything. So football was definitely a guiding force because it was an outlet that kept a lot of my friends and I organized and doing something positive and not being involved in the streets. So I think having that outlet was definitely influential in my upbringing, because it also taught you structure, it taught you discipline, and then honestly, for school-wise, my mother would not let me play football if my grades weren't right. So when my grades started to slip, she would always threaten to take me off the team. So that was another factor to make me want to do better in school.
Yeah, definitely. If you wouldn't mind, could you describe the relationship between your family's economic position and how that affected you playing sports, if at all?
We were definitely low income, I would say. I grew up in the projects, so that was low income housing, and my mom, worked part-time as a hairdresser, and she did other odd jobs. So I would say if you looked at our income, I would say we were in the, I don't want to say poverty level, but I would doubt if she even made $20,000 a year to support the family. So, in the beginning, you was playing football just to have fun, but as I got older, I saw if I wanted to go to college, then I could take advantage of getting a scholarship and take advantage that way.
Okay. So your time at IUP, what year did you attend IUP?
I got to IUP in December of '97, and I graduated in 2000.
Okay. Were you recruited to go to IUP, and did other schools recruit you?
Yeah, I was recruited by IUP, and I would say a majority of the teams in the PSAC. That would be Cal U, Slippery Rock, Edinburgh, Youngstown State. For a while, I was recruited by West Virginia, Pitt. But I can't think of this. It was a school of Maryland. I can't think of the name. But I decided to go to Youngstown State right out of high school, but eventually I transferred to IUP, where Coach Signetti was the coach.
Is Coach Signetti the reason that you transferred, or was there another reason you decided to come to IUP?
I transferred to IUP. There was some philosophy changes at Youngstown State where they wanted to change my position, and I was not receptive to that. And just remembering my relationship during the recruiting process with Coach Sinetti, I contacted him to see if there was still interest of me attending IUP, and he was very receptive and welcomed me, and I was able to transfer like really quick from Thanksgiving break. Or by the time we left for Christmas break, and by the time Christmas break was over, I was in for the beginning of the winter session, thanks to Coach Zanetti's help.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's awesome. What position did you play?
I played inside linebacker,
Okay.
and I ended up playing 2 seasons with IUP.
Okay. Was there anyone else in your family who had attended college at the time, or were you the first?
I've had other family members attend college. My cousin Janitha Short actually graduated from IUP. She was probably 10, 12 years older than myself. My brother went to Pitt, and my sister went to Penn State, but eventually they ran into financial troubles. They didn't get to finish because they didn't have the luxury of having an athletic scholarship to help them, pay to finish school.
Okay. What did you study at IUP and why?
I studied elementary education where I got my undergrad, and I studied that simply because there were individuals in my growing up that I thought made a big difference in my life, so I figured I wanted to do the same. And then my goal was to be a football coach and a teacher, and I coached for a little bit, but ultimately I became a high school principal, and that takes up a lot of my time, so I don't have time to coach. But I still think being a principal, I'm having a good influence on young people's lives and helping them, make good decisions and for their careers and their lives.
You're the principal at West Mifflin, correct?
Yes, currently, yes.
My first few years at IUP, I lived in a hall with a few kids from who grew up in West Mifflin. I don't know if you know Terrence Cook.
I do not know Terrence Cook. Okay. He might have graduated before I got you. I do actually know a couple of my current students that are attending there. Whenever I come up for a game, I see them. A couple of them actually playing for the team too. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That must be really cool to be able to come watch your former team and see students that you've helped now playing on that team.
Exactly, and they got a couple on the cheerleading squad and a couple of just general students all together. But yeah, it's definitely cool to see that.
Yeah, I'm sure that's awesome that you still have such a great relationship with your students after they've graduated.
Yes.
Was there a particular course or professor that you enjoyed most at IUP?
I want to say Dr. Thibodeau was one guy that I really enjoyed. He was very down to earth, and then also Dr. Briscoe. I think he taught a philosophy class. I enjoyed his class, and I'm currently attending school to get my doctorate degree, and I would say Dr. Marceline and oh my God, I can't believe I can't remember this guy's name. I'm gonna look up the other one, that other professor that I think is doing a great job of mentoring and influence minorities to be a part of IUP's curriculum program.
Sure.
I can't believe I can't think of it.
It's all the turkey we've been eating. Makes our minds go fuzzy.
Yeah. Go on to the next question and I'll look it up.
Sure. What was it like playing football at IUP? What was your typical day as a student athlete like?
A typical day as a student athlete, I would say like we would have practices after classes, and we have a couple days a week. And I guess in the beginning they had us go to study table. But once you proved that you could handle it, they would let you out of the study table. But then, there was a lot of requirements for working out and film study and attending practices, attending classes. But when I think of it, it was a good experience.
Were there any major accomplishments that you had as a student athlete?
As a student athlete, I was chosen as, I think, most valuable player on the defense one year. Another year, I was chosen as most inspirational player. My last year there, I think we we won the PSAC and we made it to the playoffs, eventually losing in the first round. But I felt that my time there, I fulfilled my goals as being a student athlete.
What was the most challenging aspect of being a student athlete?
I would say the most challenging aspect was just balancing your time between class and working out and being part of the team, and then also trying to maintain a balance with social life, because while you're going to practice and you're doing film study and you're working out, some of your other friends may be doing other things. So it was just finding the balance and just using your time wisely and spreading it out efficiently amongst all the things that you needed to do.
Did you ever feel like you were missing out because of all your other obligations on other aspects of college life?
I would not say I was missing out, simply because football was very fulfilling and you had a lot of support with the fellow players and the fellow coaches and the football family. You didn't feel like you left out. If anything, I felt more left out after I was done with football, because I still had another semester to finish, because at that point I really wasn't a part of football, but then I dedicated so much time to football, I didn't make a lot of friends on the social, like outside of football, so I was stuck between the two. So that I remember that as my loneliest time.
That's understandable. What was the most rewarding aspect of playing football for IUP?
The most rewarding aspect is, like I said, I played football since I was 7 years old, so I like to compete. I like to practice. I just like all aspects of the program. And I've been up there most recently, and I like to see that they updated the facilities and them, making upgrades and everything. So it's just proud to see that they're still doing good and they're improving on the program.
Yeah, I'm sure. What was your experience like at IUP in general? What do you recall about being a student there during the years you attended?
The one professor that I failed to mention during my doctorate degree, his name is Robert Millward.
Okay, thank you.
He's the head of the doctorate program for educational leadership.
Okay, cool.
All right, the question you said, what was...
Sure, do you want me to repeat?
Yeah, repeat the question.
Sure. What was your general experience at IUP like? What do you recall about being a student there during those years?
In general, I just recall trying to make a decent schedule so I wasn't overwhelmed, and I had a good relationship with all the teachers and the faculty. Just being a student, there was one time in my last year playing when I got hurt, and I actually got a little depressed because I couldn't play the last game, and I kind of missed a few classes, and one teacher actually suggested that I drop out of education program, and it kind of woke me up a little bit, because there I'm thinking that I need to get myself together here and finish school, since I was in school several years. So I had to buckle down and get that done. But outside of that, I felt like I had a good experience there with campus life, classes, peer interaction, stuff like that.
What were some of the significant or memorable events that you experienced while you were a student? Can you recall any, or a particular story?
Memorable events while attending IUP. I remember the hub. The student hub was always a place where we would hang out and have a good time, where they would have different social events. The one year, my junior year, we lost to Slippery Rock. They had a Hail Mary pass. They won. They beat us with a Hail Mary pass at the end of the game, and they actually won an ESPY award for that. That was pretty funny.
Wow.
Yeah, but and I remember graduating. That was a memorable experience. I was very proud that I graduated and get my college degree, because both my brothers and sisters went to college before me, and they were. My sister was a member of the National Honor Society. My brother, the same, and they were, they were like stronger academically than I was, but I graduated before both of them, so I remember being proud about that.
A little sibling rivalry there.
Exactly.
What were your expectations going into IUP? Were they met?
My expectations going into IUP was to have a fulfilling career playing football and have fun and graduating and getting my degree. So I would say those goals were met. The only thing I did not so much like about IUP were the dorms. But, and like I said, they've made updates and renovations to that, so it looks like they've taken care of that. The dorms were pretty bleak back in the 90s, or the late 90s when I was there.
Were there ever any obstacles that got in your way, either because of being a transfer student, or was there any big challenges that you faced?
Just the one challenge that I spoke of there was when I got hurt, and I started missing a few classes, and the professor suggested that I drop out of the program. And once again, that was my senior year, so that I wasn't even considering that. Like I thought maybe it would have been a better process had they sat down and asked me what was going on, rather than have a meeting with me and just say they think I should drop out of the program.
Right.
But fortunately enough, I stood up for myself, and I did not do it. And I graduated, got my teaching certificate, and I actually went and got my master's, and now I'm getting my doctorate in education. So I would say that would be the one obstacle that I had to overcome.
That you faced, yeah, definitely. What was it like, if you don't mind me asking, being a person of color at IUP during those years? And then did athletics intersect with race to influence your experience?
You said, I'm sorry, you got to repeat that. I'm sorry, that was a loaded question.
Sorry, no problem, yeah. If you wouldn't mind asking, what was it like being a person of color at IUP?
Being a person of color at IUP, I cannot say that I felt any pressure, or I felt I was alienated because I was a person of color. I feel that IUP, I guess, has a diverse population, so they didn't have any issues that I'm aware of in regards to people being mistreated. But once again, when you're a part of the athletic programs, sometimes you get a little extra special treatment.
Right.
And I'm not saying that I got anything illegal or anything that anybody else didn't get, but we always had preference with scheduling our courses. We got to do that before anybody else. I had my books paid for, so I didn't have any issues getting books or anything. Socially, I didn't have any issues on campus. There was one time I had a problem up downtown Indiana, but I didn't think that was race related. That was just being in a bar and have an issue with some of the people in the bar, but I didn't even think that was race related. It was just, you got too many people in the area at one time, you're going to have some issues.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And is there anything else about your time at IUP you'd like to add? Anything else you can think of?
No, I think the most important aspect of my time at IUP was I had a very good experience working with Coach Signetti Senior, and he made sure that the players were taken care of, and that he was there for us if we needed anything. And I think I got a very good education there and training for my career. And I recommend people, if they want to have a good experience, IEP is definitely somewhere you can go and learn academically and socially.
Awesome, thank you. So now we're going to move on to talk about what you've done since graduation. You've talked about that you still come back and are getting your doctorate from IUP. So what else? What else has been your relationship to IUP since graduating?
When I first graduated, I started when I first graduated. I was playing arena football in Augusta, Georgia.
Okay,
and I did that
cool.
for 2 years, and then after that, I came back to Pennsylvania and was working in an alternative school. It's called Holy Family Institute. While working at Holy Family Institute, I got my master's degree in special ed from Slippery Rock University. And then from there, I got a job working as a special ed teacher in Penn Hills School District.
Okay.
And then also in Penn Hills School District, I went back and got my principal certification and became a principal in Penn Hills. And then now, the last 6 years, I've been working in West Mifflin School District as the head high school principal. And then that's when I went back to get my doctorate degree in educational leadership, which I should be finishing up here in May.
That's awesome. I'm just curious, can you describe what you're learning in your doctorate? What does educational leadership entail?
Educational leadership is basically the first thing that we did. We took a field trip to Gettysburg, and we learned about the different strategic, viewpoints of the different leaders in the Battle of Gettysburg, and that was kind of interesting to look at it from a different aspect of, how, a vantage point, motivating your, subordinates, using, well-written, motivational stories or speeches to get your people to follow and do what you want, and then also looking at when the odds are stacked against you, if you have a good plan and you have a good team, that you can overcome, any obstacle. Also, teach you about school law and just some of the issues that school leaders have to overcome on a daily basis, and doing research and statistics, things of that nature.
Okay, cool, interesting. Did your involvement in athletics influence your career at all, and any successes that you've had?
Involvement in athletics definitely geared basically what I wanted to do as far as my goal to be a teacher and a coach. And then basically the work ethic that I got from playing sports and the commitment that you have to be a student athlete and a professional athlete helped guide and nurture, what I'm doing now, because, on a football team, you got about 60, 70 people. As a principal, you're in charge of 50, 60 staff members, and you could be in charge of thousands of students and, even multiple thousands of parents you got to deal with. So all my experience of being a team captain and being a leader in football, I basically transferred those skill sets into being an educational leader.
Yeah, definitely. I can totally see that. Did your involvement in sports influence your life in any other ways?
I would go back to say once again, just the aspect of being responsible, being accountable, setting goals, achieving, being successful, being used to having pressure on you from, the athletic standpoint, and then transferring that into your your personal life. It's lessons that don't just stop after football. You apply all of that into your day-to-day operations. And I say again, being responsible, being accountable, being someone that is dependable and reliable, all of those things from football transfer into life, into work life, and being a parent and a spouse, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Those lessons don't just stay on the field.
Right.
I know you said you're very busy as a principal, but do you still coach at all, or do you plan on going back to coaching if you ever have the time again?
Right now, I'm a principal, and after I get done with my doctorate degree, I'm probably going to go into central administration, being an assistant superintendent or a superintendent. So I don't see coaching into my very near future unless I kind of volunteer coach on a little league team or something. But usually when you're in administration, you don't have the time, nor some places don't allow
you to coach.
Be a coach, yeah.
That makes sense. And then you said you still go up to IUP and watch games, and you said you were watching a football game earlier today, so you're still a spectator in it, right?
Oh yeah, my nephew currently plays for the University of Duquesne, and I attend his games, and I have a couple cousins playing high school sports, and like you said, you watch the Steelers, you watch Pitt, you watch Penn State, so you never stop being a fan of the game,
Yeah, exactly. Do you still keep in touch with any of your former teammates or coaches?
Yeah, like I said, I come to IUP at least 2-3 times a year to watch a game, and in the recruiting process, some of the coaches come to my school to recruit kids, so I see them that way. And then I have a couple close former players that we keep touch via social media or text message, phone call, and every once in a while we'll see each other maybe once or twice a year, meet up somewhere.
Cool. You said you're a parent, correct? Do you have children?
Yes.
Do they play sports?
My daughter plays softball and basketball, and she's starting to get into gymnastics. My son does not play sports. He was playing baseball for a little bit, but he did not take interest in football, and I did not force him to play. So he's more of an artsy guy, and he does a military program called ROTC.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So even though he doesn't play sports, there's other things like extracurriculars that he does in his life. Did you since he didn't take to sports much, did you made sure he found something else outside of school to be interested in or participate in?
Right. Yeah. I definitely believe that extracurricular activities are important to help shape a young person's life, because as a parent, you can tell a kid something 20 times and they just think, oh, my dad's this or my mom's that. But when they hear it from a coach or a sponsor, then it kind of sinks in. So, yeah, like I said, I did not force him into playing football or any other sport, because, sports are fun, but there's a level of danger involved. If somebody's not paying attention or if they're not interested, they can definitely get hurt. So I didn't want to put them in a situation where he would risk injury, especially now with all the information on concussions and things of that nature. I didn't want to put him in a situation. So the ROTC is a good outlet. He was playing an instrument for a while there. That's also a good outlet, and he likes to volunteer in the community. So he can't. I support him in whatever he wants to do.
That's awesome. So for your daughter, what role would you like to see sports play in her life?
For her, she, like I said, she's really into softball. I think is going to be her first sport, but she definitely likes playing basketball as well. And then same thing, I would just like to see her get the spirit of competition and have her understand, winning is great and it feels good, but, when you lose and you get let down and disappointed, you know how to handle it. You don't just tank out and get depressed and, make bad decisions because you lost. You find a way to, take the positives out of it and learn from it and do better the next time or in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Learning to lose is probably one of the best lessons I ever learned from sports.
Yeah, and it's a fine line between, and I don't want to sound negative, being a loser and learning to accept, I tried my best. I did what I was trained to do. Sometimes there's just people that's better.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it just wasn't your day.
Exactly. Yeah.
And not blame others for your faults or your losses, and just accept it and learn from it and do better next time.
Do you see her going on to play sports in college?
I don't know yet because she's 10 right now.
Okay.
So I don't know.
She's got a while to go.
Yeah, she's got a while to go to see if she sticks with it. I know there's some kids on her team that the kids and the parents are like super, super competitive to the point where you can see that they're going to have issues
Mm-hmm.
because they're too engulfed in it, and instead of it being a component of the kid's life, they're making it the focal point of their lives, because you see them like it's a little league game. They shouldn't be crying after they lose. They shouldn't be on the ground rolling around like, the world just ended. Like, my daughter gets upset, but it's not. We don't make it that serious. Like, we want to have fun. You want to have some socialization of it, and you want to, get something out of it, but you don't want to make it like it's the end of the world. That's the hardest part for any athlete, is to find a balance.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when they're so young, like your daughter.
Exactly.
Over-involved parents is actually a topic we've covered in class.
Yeah, I see that a lot being a principal. I get parents calling me complaining their kid's not playing. They get parents calling me talking about the coaches. I said, I'm not involved in athletics. You can't try to coach the coach, and you can't try to yell at the coach during the game. You're not helping.
Right.
But yeah, some of these parents, it's a struggle. But like I said, that's a whole nother interview.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anything else you could think of that you'd like to add to your interview about what we've talked about?
My only advice for any student athlete going to college or even in high school is just use sports as an avenue to help further your education, and sometimes you're fortunate and you can become a professional at it. But even then, you gotta embrace the educational aspect of it and use the athletic aspect to further the education, and find a balance in your life between the sports and the athletics. The sports and the education, and to have a career beyond, your playing days.
Yeah, that's another thing we've looked at recently, is the amount of the graduation rate for like the Division I schools, like NCAA like type schools, and how a lot of kids just go to play and then get into like the league or something and then never actually graduate.
See, and that's the thing. I mean, everybody who's playing a sport is playing. I'm going to say that's a generalization. Majority of people that's playing the sport is playing because they want to be a professional athlete. But at some point, you got to come to grips like, hey, it's not going to happen. So if you got somebody that's giving you a full scholarship to go to school, you got to cash in. You got to finish and get your degree. Worst case scenario, you get a degree, you go get a good job, and you make a living for you. So, like, I know some people who are in their mid-30s still trying to play semi-professional sports, and people who never even played in a college or pro level comparing themselves to professional athletes. Like, at some point, you got to give it up. And
You got to let it go.
You got to let it go. And if you got an opportunity where somebody's giving you a full scholarship to go to school, to play football or to play basketball or any sport, you gotta get that degree. It's the same for anybody who has a scholarship and don't get out of there with a degree.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. Well, thank you so much for your time and sharing your experiences with me for this IUP oral history project.